Support WrestleTalk!
Thank you for your support on Patreon, the Mayor of Painesville, Dan. Charlotte loses the SmackDown Women's title she won from Becky Lynch to Bayley's Money in the Bank cash-in. That was one segment. Referees can't do their jobs properly. And Brock Lesnar made his shock WWE return to win the men's Money in the Bank. Presumably because said bank had just had all the Saudi Arabian money transferred into it. I'm Ollie Davis. Press the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, and answer our question of the day in the comments down below. Are you happy to see Brock Lesnar return to WWE? Because I'll be replying to people from more out of nowhere than a Brock Lesnar return. Also vote in the poll above my head to give your rating for the show, where you can choose from best of both worlds, great per view, thumbs in the middle, meh per view, and worst of both worlds, while I review Money in the Bank 2019. The only match on the pre-show saw the Usos get their win back over SmackDown Tag Team Champions Daniel Bryan and Rowan. Although it was the usual fun expected from these teams, with the Usos entering ... dive mode for the last several minutes, the match meant nothing and it was hard to get invested. I'm not a fan of the Tag Team Champions losing this early in their reign too, even if it was non-title. After an in memoriam graphic for the recent passing of Ashley Mazzaro, the main card opened with the Lady People's Money in the Bank match, where stars from both Raw and SmackDown fight in the same ring. A stipulation that would have felt quite special if there was an actual brand split. Nikki Cross, who replaced the injured Alexa Bliss, Naomi, who debuted her new look as a fluorescent bee, and Ember Moon looked the best in a spot-filled, fast-paced match, with Moon's jumping Eclipse off a massive ladder into the ring as the most inventive move. But the match was built around the blonde people, with Carmella being helped to the back after Mandy Rose injured her, to run back down and almost win later on. But Sonya Deville pushed her off, potentially setting up a Mandy versus Carmella feud for the future. Sonya tried to fire Woman's carry Mandy up the ladder to win, but Bayley pushed them off and won the briefcase. Bayley told Charlie Caruso afterwards that she was proud of what her and Sasha Banks achieved with the women's tag division, but now she's going for the title, which is likely just WWE's way of telling Banks, this is what happens when you walk out on us. Next, we got Rey Mysterio taking on Samoa Joe for the United States title. After their 60-second long WrestleMania 35 match, they almost doubled the action, with Rey pinning Joe in 2 minutes. And to their credit, WWE didn't just rely on the Joe gets caught by surprise with a roll-up, loses, then looks really angry finish they've used for the last several months. They included bad refereeing this time round. The official counted 3 despite Joe's left shoulder being completely off the mat. Eddie Guerrero's son, Dominic, celebrated with the new US champion Rey afterwards, but Joe wasn't done, so beat up Mysterio while Dominic looked on. The match was supposedly cut short because of Joe's broken nose, but that doesn't excuse the lazy finish. But the bad refereeing didn't stop there, because next up we got Shane McMahon beating The Miz in a steel cage match, which The Miz really should have won, because Shane kicked out off a skull-crushing finale on a chair with a rope break, even though rope breaks aren't a thing in steel cages. But then again, this is consistent with WWE's own inconsistency, like when Brock Lesnar somehow caused a double DQ in last September's Roman Reigns vs Braun Strowman Hell in a Cell match. The crowd rightfully chanted bull S-word, because while this could be a storyline with referees being scared to let their McMahon boss lose, it likely will never be brought up again and was just a case of bad booking. And we didn't even get a crazy Shane McMahon spot to distract from the otherwise ropiness of the match, with him using his other superpower of intense sweating to slip out the Miz's grasp at the top of the cage like some greased up pig. You ain't never gonna catch me! Fall to the floor and win. But most offensively, there was not one single Miz dad in this entire segment. Mick Foley was announced for the next night's episode of Raw, where he'll unveil WWE's newest title, because that's what this company needs. More meaningless titles. Sad segue, because next up was the Cruiserweight title match between Tony Nese and Araya Daivari. Sadly, Nese and Daivari didn't have the charisma and loud slapping noises of Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander, and it lacked the excitement of the last year of Cruiserweight title pay-per-view matches that slowly captured the crowds. Nese retained, as did Becky Lynch. For half her belts, the first bout came against Lacey Evans, where the sassy, not sexy Southern Belle wrestled rather well and got her character over with unique moves and rubbing a sweaty handkerchief in Becky's face. The problem is, those spots would have meant so much more if they were built up in squash matches over the last 5 months of her main roster run. Just debuting them here meant they lacked substance. And in her third bad refereeing call of the night, Lacey rolled up Becky for what seemed like a 3 count the official never counted, which Lynch reversed into a winning disarmer. But her victory was short-lived, as Charlotte walked out for the next title match immediately after, that lasted just a few minutes when Evans hit the women's right on Becky behind the referee's back, allowing Charlotte to get the win. Evans and Charlotte continued to beat up Becky one belt after the match, but they were chased off by our Money in the Bank winner Bayley, who cashed in on Charlotte to become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. I'm not against this, and Bayley celebrating in the crowd felt like it could be the start of a Kofi-level organic push. But WWE just rushed through half a year's worth of booking in a few minutes. I would have much preferred Bayley be slowly built up again on SmackDown, making that first title win a long underdog story more befitting of her character. Instead, all that was sacrificed for a much cheaper surprise pop. It also makes you wonder whether this was the plan for Sasha Banks before she walked out on the company, or just a way for WWE to get back at her. Because that was far too much wrestling, the following Roman Reigns versus Elias was just an elaborate angle rather than the actual match. Elias attacked Reigns backstage so he could perform a "Your Hometown Sucks" song in the ring, having a shock electric turn from acoustic, and Reigns speared him afterwards to get the win. While a throwaway comedy angle wasn't the best way to keep Roman's babyface momentum going, it was smart in the structure of this night, as it let the audience reset for Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. Surprise, surprise, they had an excellent match. Not the best match these two can have, but a mighty fine first installment. Seth riffed on all his usual spots, but the most inventive and spectacular moment came when AJ somehow reversed a curb stomp into a Styles clash. I still don't know how that happened, because gravity doesn't work that way, unless AJ's right. Maybe the earth is flat. Rollins eventually hit the curb stomp for the win though, and the two shook hands afterwards while AJ awesomely said off mic, "You understand how hard this is for me? I'm bored now. We haven't had a pro wrestling angle for one whole match." Thankfully, the Lucha House Party made their way down to the ring for the sole purpose of being beaten up by Lars Sullivan. Because someone thought Lars beating up 3 Mexican guys after the resurfacing of his controversial post last week was a good idea. Well, one alleged comment read, "The McMahons don't care about Mexicans politically, but when it comes to business, they'll exploit any race to make money." Lars was also somehow busted open during the beatdown, so he was literally red in the face. Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens was a good match, but it suffered both from having to follow AJ versus Seth and, in the grander scheme of things, from hotshot booking, as the drama would have been far more intense if KO's friendship with the New Day lasted longer than just 2 weeks. The crowd seemed tired here, and Kofi won with the Trouble in Paradise. Not a bad match, but nowhere near the full potential if this feud was booked more patiently. So the main event slot went to the men's Money in the Bank match, not just because it was full of spectacular spots, but also because it had the biggest pro wrestling angle of a night full of them. Earlier on, Sami Zayn was found beaten up and hanging by his feet backstage, a piece of symbolism that implied Bray Wyatt or Aleister Black. Braun Strowman denied it to Triple H, so the match went ahead with only 7 participants. There are too many amazing spots to mention, with the majority coming from Ricochet, Andrade, Ali, and Finn Balor's spine, which was the enhancement talent for the night, being sunset flip powerbombed off a ladder and through another by Andrade. Even Baron Corbin had a good run of moves around the ring at one point. But despite everyone working insanely hard throughout the match, it was Brock Lesnar who just walked down to win at the end, rather summarizing the Beast's career over the last half-decade. With Ali seemingly having it won, Lesnar's music hitting paralyzed him into inaction, even though he could have definitely unhooked the beefcase in time. Lesnar pushed Ali off the ladder, climbed it himself, and won a match he wasn't even in. Wild card! It was my reaction to Brock returning. Huh. Now let's see Luke and Laurie's from last night's live stream.
Oh. No way.
Oh, I hate this.
This cannot be.
There are no rules in this company!
This cannot be.
I hate this.
This absolutely no way. This absolutely cannot be.
I hate that.
This company. Oh my God, that's hysterical.
This show
That's so funny.
has been BS.
Right?
Absolute BS.
Let's go back to the worst thing about WWE for the last 2 years.
But all it's going to do is set up one match in a couple of weeks. And so it means Money in the Bank's gone again for another year.
Brock winning didn't make any sense. Not in booking, not in justice, and most definitely not in visuals, as the sight of Brock on top of a ladder was something my brain just wouldn't accept, like an elephant on a unicycle, or him showing up on a consistent basis. Congratulations, WWE, you found a winner more infuriating than Baron Corbin. Money in the Bank was actually quite a fun show to watch from a shocking angle perspective. It's just those shocking angles were either rushed or deeply frustrating. To finally think the company was rid of Lesnar for the upteenth time, he returned just one pay-per-view later to insert himself right at the top of the card again. Money in the Bank 2019 could have been a great per-view, but Brock made it just a thumbs in the middle. Pac has quit All Elite Wrestling. Watch the insane footage of what happened at the WrestleGate Pro Show by clicking the video on the right. And Game of Thrones has finally finished. Watch our review of the show finale by clicking the video below that. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.